Shoot.
Yeah.
1941.
It's 1941, at the age of 20 years. He decides to cross the border. He was in the company of 5. There were 5 of them. And in crossing the border, they were already in the country. But because they are traveling at night under the cover of darkness, having crossed the border, it's at night. And then they find themselves surrounded by a pride of lions. The lions are not very close to them, but they're close enough for them to see the shining eyes. And they were in some kind of a hillock. So they climb up there on a tree. But they are still within reach of this pride of lions. They opt that the lions would rather attack them from the back, not facing in the face. So he says to these guys, let us pray. And he asks God that these are his beasts. He's the one in control. Let him take control so that these people can believe that he's the living God. And he prays. He leads them in prayer. For what seemed like eternity, the hunger they had, they couldn't feel it anymore, because there they were facing death. And what seemed like eternity for over, I think, almost close to dawn, for some strange reasons, these lions did not come close to them, but they were close enough for them to reach. And somewhere at the break of dawn, the lions turned away and left.
Sure. So they never attacked.
They didn't.
They just responded to that prayer, basically, because that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because if they were roaring and they had surrounded the 5 men, they were hungry. They wanted food.
They were hungry, and this was the food.
Yeah.
And from that point, they could see some light. They could see a farmhouse, and they went there. When they went there, it's a farmer and a boer, a white guy who took them in, and he gave them nzima, but uncooked. But so hungry were they ate it like that. In fact, it turned out that this farmer was part of the syndicate, that when these guys cross, they are then taken to a place called Betal, some plantation, where they plant potatoes, they become farm workers. So once they were taken there, they first along the route, they found themselves in a place called Mfana. And then they were to be taken to the mines, but they had found some way around there, slipped away, and found himself working for some Jewish guy who owned a shop. Was he so trustworthy that the guy entrusted him with running the shop. Thank you very much. Entrusted him with running the shop in Julie Street, Johannesburg.
That's right in the center.
Yes. Yeah.
I know that street.
Yes,
yeah,
Julie
exactly.
Street. Yeah,
Right
very famous street. And that's where he established himself. But one of the places he went to Alexandra, the famous Alexandra Township.
Yeah.
By then it used to be called Dark City. He stayed there, and that's where he met. His language ability was very good. Some Xhosas, he became friends with Xhosas, and that's how he acquired the language.
But I mean, the Bantu languages are so similar.
They are similar, but
you're in your-
Xhosa
if you-
is a bit complex.
But
It's unlike
There's a lot of
Zulu.
clicking, right?
It's unlike, yes, a lot of clicking. It's unlike Zulu.
So if you are young and if you're sharp, you should be able to pick up a language.
Yeah. But for him, it's remarkable because he spoke it without an accent.
Really?
Yeah.
They couldn't tell that he's in.
No.
Okay.
And because he's Hanjahanja, it didn't sound very foreign. Xhosas, it's common in the Xhosas. You've got Phonelas in Xhosa. You've got Mahanja.
In Xhosas.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mahanja, Hanjahanja. So Hanjahanja
It was like he's one of them.
is just one of them. And then he got into the church, Methodist church, the Wesleyan church, and became a prominent member because he could even preach in isiXhosa.
What?
I'm telling you. So when I grew up,
So he was a man of God.
yeah. So because that was the language he spoke, he never spoke Chichewa with us. He could only speak Chichewa in the company of his other homeboys. But with us,
It was Xhosa.
so we never acquired Chichewa.
So can I ask? So geographically, you have Sotho speakers where we are here in Pretoria, right?
Yes, yeah.
And Zulu
Very
speakers
few here.
are in KZN,
Yes.
KwaZulu
And the
Natal.
Israel where I come from.
And the Xhosas are where?
Xhosas are in the Eastern Cape.
Eastern Cape, okay.
Yeah. It's East London, it's Port Elizabeth, it's and then Cape Town.
Oh, okay.
Mostly
Down
this way.
there.
Yeah, down there.
Okay. So are you the first of that family? The firstborn?
No, I'm the second born. The firstborn is my sister Gugu.
Gugu, okay.
Yeah,
That lady.
it's
Is
Gugu.
it Guguleto?
No, just Gugu.
Gugu, okay.
Gugu. I had the name Abigail. And then I followed.
Uh-huh.
And then the third one is Nana. And very Latin complexion. Takes after my mother a lot. After my mother a lot. And then there's the other one, Rose, but she passed on soon after Dad came back. So it's the two ladies and myself, the three of us.
So here's the thing. Are you saying that he met our Gogo in Alexandria? Or during the time when he
Yes,
was
during the time when he was there.
in the Methodist church?
They met at because he worked at a hospital called Rietfontein.
All right.
Not very far from OR Tambo International.
Okay.
That's where they met. My mother was a nurse,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know what he was doing, but that's where they met.
He's a Hanja. What do you expect?
That's where they met, and then the rest is history.
All right.
Yeah.
Powerful. And then you guys came along.
And then we stayed in Soweto.
If I can ask, when was Gugu born? Which year?
Where?
When? Which year? The sister, Gugu.
Born in 1962.
62.
Yeah.
That was
And
the
then-
beginning.
Yeah, and then I followed in 1964.
And then the rest.
Yeah, then the rest.
Okay. Wow. And here's the other thing that is a gap for me, which you can help fill in. Because in the 80s, when I was now a teenager and, whenever we went home, that's when he was in Songani.
Yeah.
So he had come back, or was he...
This is what happened.
Was he operating in two towns, in two countries rather?
We were in Soweto, in our own house.
Yes.
Then they separated, 1971.
71.
Then we left Soweto to come to Piet Retief, that's in Mpumalanga.
Mpumalanga, okay.
It's 3 hours from here.
That's where your mom comes from? Or?
That's where my mother comes from.
Okay.
Then we wanted to stay with the maternal family. And then he used to come and visit because he was still in Joburg. In 1978, he came to bid us goodbye. That's when he returned to Malawi. 7 years after the separation, in 1978, he decided to settle back in Malawi.
Had he remarried, or was it no?
He didn't remarry.
And your mom?
My mom also didn't remarry.
So it was a clean separation.
Yeah, it was just a clean separation.
Okay.
So I was raised by my maternal side because during that divorce, we were called to say whom do we choose between our dad and our mother. For some reason, we said our mother.
It's natural. It always go that way.
But I tell you, father has such high respect within the family because every time he came to visit, his visit would be preceded by that we must go to the railway station to collect 50 kg of rice, 50 kg of flour,
which he had brought with him from Joburg.
Yeah, 50 kg of oats. So he really looked after us. He was a caring father. And the family was really torn apart by the separation. They really didn't like him. He was still loved, still very highly respected as part of the separation. So whenever he came to visit, there would be joy in the house because he's coming. He doesn't just come.
This is between 71 and 78.
Yeah, 78.
Yeah, so in the 80s, that's when we saw him. And my memory of him is a gentleman who was always in like a suit.
Well dressed.
And had a bowler hat, these bowler hats.
He's got plenty of them.
And you'd be there and you'd be speaking his English, with a little bit of a South African accent. And he'd be asking you difficult questions. Oh, are you doing well in school?
Yeah.
Which, are you McPetrie's son or whose son are you? And you'd be like, yes, Gogo, and you'd run away. But that's what I remember. He was a very organized man. That was my impression, and no matter, because you'd appear if there was a wedding or a funeral or anything like that, and many of the times you'd come by bicycle or but he would make the journey from Songani to Matawale, which for a man in his 60s, 70s at that time,
very strong.
That was a commitment, but he would do it all the time. That's the memory I had, and then he left Songani and came back to South Africa later.
I fetched him.
It was you.
Yeah.
You came to pick him up, or you called for him?
Well, this is what happened. In the year 2000, he gave me an address of his old friend, Mr. Chuma. Mm-hmm. He said he gave me the address. He has been always communicating with Mr. Chuma, but in the year I got married, in the year 2000, he decided that I must go and see his friend. Where
was Chuma? In Malawi or in?
Chuma is in Tembisa, in Kempton Park.
Africa. Okay, all right, okay.
So I drive it to go see the old man, and then he says, "Yeah, you look exactly like Hanjahanja man." Then I said, "He in December. It was December, and he was to go to Malawi in January." I said, "Please, when you go, here's an amount of money. Please bring him back. Here's an amount of money." He went, came there, saw his old friend. The old man said, "Hey, but you see, I've just planted my mealies and other vegetables. Let me see this grow. We'll see about going back to South Africa." I reckoned, okay, if he doesn't want to come, I must fetch him myself.
Yes. I assume he didn't have a passport then. It must have.
He didn't.
It must have expired.
He didn't.
And he wouldn't have wanted to.
Well, that could have been arranged because there was enough money
for them to do the passport.
to do the passport and all of that.
No, but what I'm saying is he wouldn't have had the energy to go to Blantyre and leave his fields and all that. He would have said, man.
So that was 2001 actually when we sent Mr. Chuma to go fetch.
2001.
Yeah. So when he failed, I said, okay, The year 2002, in June, I said, I'm fetching the road. I took Mr. Chuma with me because I don't know the place, he knows. Got into a bus, off we went. Almost a 24-hour bus ride through Zimbabwe, Mozambique, right until Mwanza. Mm-hmm. And then we got in, and now, so when we meet him, first he didn't recognize me.
You didn't?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't so old.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
It's a nice one. Big portion.
Oh, you made a big portion?
Yeah.
More than the...
Sharp, it's worth the price. Now, you know, some days they just put a small thing.
So 2002, I go fetch him. First he doesn't recognize me, he says, you? And Mr. Chuma says, yeah, that's your son. And then he's got such a good memory. Where's Betwell? Betwell is my uncle. Where's Gustav? No, he passed on. Who's so-and-so? Where's so-and-so? So the man has got such a good... And he's addressing me in his course.
He hasn't lost it. He's speaking it.
And bit of Sisutu too.
What?
Sure, I was so amazed. And then he takes out photos, a lot of photos of my grandfather, my grandmother when they were getting married. He's got such a rich history.
So, which means you'd had seen him, the last time you had seen him, you were 14 or thereabouts.
Yeah, I was 14.
And now you're seeing him as a grown man.
I'm seeing him at the age of 34, huh?
Mm. 2000, yeah, 36.
Yeah.
36, 37.
38.
Yeah, so you're a man.
38.
You're a man now. So yeah. So okay. I can understand why he would have struggled to recognize you.
Mm. And because of now, you said and he was very organized. Mm. It was not difficult when I took him back. He had kept the receipts of his taxes. He has kept all documentation. The house that we lived in Soweto, he's got all that documentation. I mean, dating from 1948 right up to the year he left, 1978.
30 years.
Meticulously kept, stack of records. He saw that he had no chance. He had to follow me. He had to go with me.
When he came back, was he holding a South African passport? Or
no, he had a Malawian passport.
All the time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then we came in the country, we sorted that one out. Firstly, under medical condition. Secondly, permanent residence. And later on, permanent residence.
All right. Well done.
All within the books, according to the law.
And he accepted to relocate and to stay with you.
In fact, he says to me, he has always been having these dreams. Where he wakes up, he's living in a white suburb. He used to have constantly those dreams. And when I come to fetch him and I take him to where I live, he says, yeah, no, it's because he's been having these visions.
And that's how he came back. And was he staying with you, or was he
stayed with me
until the day he passed?
Yes. I took him to my mother in Pitrotiv, but you can imagine that the years of separation. My mother was used to being
alone.
Yeah, and now comes this old man
from Malawi,
and they had divorced. He was no longer the same. I reckon if I am the one who fetched him, let me take the full responsibility of looking after him. Of course, Mom would say, I want him back. But I realized
It don't work.
it's not going to work. Mom would come and visit, stay for weeks, then go back. So things were okay.
Brilliant. And he died in
2014, 2014, after 12 years.
That's what, 83 or 93?
2014 he died. He was close to 93.
93.
Yeah.
Who
That's
died
shy
first,
because
Mom or you?
it was in August. It was in August when he passed on, and he was due to celebrate his 93rd in about in October.
So what passed away first, your mother or him?
Not him.
So grandfather was first, and then grandma later.
Then my mother passed on 2019.
Wow. Powerful. Now the picture is clear.
Okay.